good. Open it during next period and walk away. I wanted to tell him no, I wasn't doing it, but he pulled out his phone and typed 911. I knew I had no choice. 5 minutes later, I was in class and raised my hand, telling Mr. Rick I needed to go organize the storage.
Hello guys, I'm reacting to this
He
shot.
gave me a thumbs up, and I walked to the storage room. I scanned my key and opened it, but then I decided not to walk away. I slid behind the back shelf and waited because I needed to know what this was about. A few minutes later, the door opened, and instead of the kid, it was Mr. Rick. He walked in carrying an empty briefcase and started pulling bottles off shelves. Potassium nitrate, sulfur, metal powders. My stomach dropped because those were the chemicals needed to make bombs. But why would he be taking them? And why did the kid send me to open this door? I thought about it and then realized Mr. Rick had massive gambling debt. He always joked about needing a second job. The kid's parents were rich. Rick was getting paid to make him a bomb. And then something else hit me. My name was on the access logs of the storage unit, not Mr. Rick's. Meaning, if anyone noticed the missing chemicals, the system would point to me. I was only here to take the fall. Rick locked the briefcase and walked out without seeing me, but I slipped out and followed. At the end of the corridor, I saw him meet the kid and show him the briefcase. The kid laughed, and Rick held up 5 fingers. They walked into the nearest empty chemistry lab, and I crept up to the door. I looked in and saw them combining the chemicals from the briefcase. I was now certain they were making a bomb. I sprinted to the principal's office, bursting in and telling him what was happening. I didn't care if they found the gun anymore. This was more important. He hit the emergency button, and 2 security guards responded immediately. All of us ran to the lab, and right as we got there, Rick and the kid were coming out with the briefcase. They saw us, and their faces went pale. They tried to walk away, but the guards grabbed them and forced them back into the lab. The principal pointed at the briefcase. "Open it!" Rick shook his head. The guard pulled out a gun and aimed it at Rick. Rick went even whiter and put in the code. Everyone tensed, expecting a timer. Instead, we saw 5 handmade fireworks shells packed in foam. His father asked me to make fireworks for his birthday, Rick said. "It's not a bomb." Everyone exhaled, but then the kid spoke. "What? No, I told you I was going to set them off in class." The guards tackled. After gym class, I opened my locker and saw a note.
This was Roblox in 2025, and it was so much different. It's May 12th, 2025. You joined Dead Rails. It was the most popular game back in 2025, and in the server, everyone could still chat. No verification needed. Then you look around. Everyone is wearing classic faces. No digital faces, no makeup. It just feels natural. Then
That's so
suddenly, a
sus.
popular Roblox YouTuber joins, Schlep, and everyone notices, because back then, he wasn't banned yet. He's here to catch an online dater. He reports them, and instantly, a real admin joins the game, checks everything, and within 30 minutes, the online dater is banned. Because back then, Roblox wasn't fully AI. Real people were actually moderating. So like this video if you miss old Roblox.
This woman worked overtime for 30 days straight. After finally making it home and preparing to rest, she suddenly died from overwork. Yet the very last thought that crossed her mind was, if I die at home, would it still count as a work-related death? The god pitted this poor young woman who had died from exhaustion and decided to send her to another world. When the god asked what kind of power she wanted, the woman refused every superpower because she remembered the wish she had in her previous life. This woman worked overtime for 30 days straight.
What happens if Dio Brando enters the back rooms? 3 things can happen. First, he'd look around once and laugh. Time stops. The corridor freezes. The entities hang motionless. Dio...
A man airplane cleaner was doing his usual rounds when something caught his
Sorry
eye
about
inside the
the
cockpit.
stop.
A book. How to fly an airplane for
The
beginners.
Wi-Fi was so
Volume
low,
1. Curious,
so
he looked around,
please like
then
and
opened
subscribe
it.
to give
Page
me
1
some
said,
money.
To start the engine, press the red button. He hesitated for a second, then pressed it. The engine roared to life. His eyes widened. He flipped the page. To get the airplane moving, press the blue button. His hands shook, but he pressed it anyway. The plane slowly began to roll, then faster, and faster down the runway. His heart was pounding now. He turned to the next page. To make the airplane fly, press the green button. He swallowed and pressed it. In seconds, the plane lifted off the ground. He was in the air, a cleaner, flying a real airplane. For a moment, he felt unstoppable, but after a while, reality hit. He didn't know how to land. Panic took over as he rushed through the book, flipping to the next page. But first, how much percent do you love Grandma? If 10%, ignore. If 100%, top a like. If 1000%, drop a heart. If 10,000%, subscribe and share. If infinite, do all of them. To learn how to land the airplane, please purchase Volume 2 at your nearest bookstore. Silence filled the cockpit. Because starting something is easy, but if you don't know how to finish it, you risk losing everything. A man airplane cleaner was doing his usual rounds when something caught his eye inside the cockpit. A book. How to fly an airplane for beginners.
of students when a kid threw an egg at the wall. The principal pulled me aside. That's Kenny. He's the most difficult student in the school. Just try to make it to June, and good luck. When I returned to the classroom, Kenny's phone was blaring the song Fireflies on full volume. I walked over. Can you help hand out calculators while I wipe the egg off the wall? I heard whispers.
This is the last shot
No
you are
teacher has
recording.
ever
So
trusted him
after
before. He
this
looked
shot
shocked,
ends,
but
I'll
grabbed
post
the sack. In the break room,
and
a teacher
upload
shook her head.
it.
You're wasting your time. That thing is beyond help.
Guys,
Offended.
and if I
During
get
lunch, he started a
100
food fight that got
subscribers
3 kids
and
sent home.
3K
The assistant
views,
principal
I'll
dropped
have a
formal
face
warning on my
reveal.
desk. Your experimental methods are disrupting the entire grade. Just
You can
ignore
see
them
my
and
face in the
punish it like
shadow,
everyone else.
my
I didn't
shadow,
know if I
but
was
you
doing
cannot
the
see
right
my
thing
face.
anymore, until parent-teacher night came, and I noticed something they didn't. His chair stayed empty. No mom, no dad, no one. So that same week, I called Kenny after school and slid his essay across my desk. These are good ideas. You just need structure. Come by tomorrow and I'll help. He pushed the paper back. Teachers don't help students like me. Not all us teachers are the same, you know. The next afternoon, I waited for him in my empty classroom for 40 minutes. After that, I didn't know how to help him, but I kept trying, and the next week, I assigned personal essays. Kenny turned his in late. The paper wrinkled and stained. I know I'm not a big part of your life, but you changed mine. I didn't know what he meant until I read what he wrote. I still remember the day that everything went wrong. Dad screamed from my bedroom. I ran downstairs and saw my mother's body on the floor. She wasn't breathing because she had unalived herself. My father dropped dead from a heart attack later that day. Every fight, every disruption, every cruel joke is me pushing people away before they can leave me like my parents did. I thought it was easier that way, but maybe I was wrong. Something shifted after that, and the next morning, Kenny was sitting in the front of my classroom before the bell rang. In every math class, he'd volunteer to hand out the calculators. At the end of every class, he'd help me clean up. And when we made it to June, he walked across that stage with a 3.2 GPA and partial scholarship to State College. I was
Bye and peace.